Welcome to the Deep Dive. We love to explore fascinating topics, and today we're diving into the world of overshopping.
Right.
We're using psychologist Dr. April Lane Benson's book, To Buy or Not to Buy, Why We Overshop and How to Stop, to kind of guide us. We've all had those moments, right, where we maybe went a little overboard with spending or felt that rush of buying something new. But where's the line? When does it become a real problem?
It's a really good question. And Dr. Benson, she tackles it head on. She makes it clear that it's not just about the sheer number of things you buy. It's really about the impact it has on your life. Think about it. Feeling that constant stress of credit card debt, or maybe hiding purchases from your partner. Those are signs, pretty telltale signs, that maybe your shopping habits are becoming a bit of an issue.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about the amount you buy, but the consequences. And it sounds like this overshopping thing, it's more common than we realize, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Benson, she points out that, get this, 18 million Americans struggle with this, leading to financial strain, problems in relationships, and even depression.
Wow, 18 million. That's a huge number. So, okay, if it's not just about buying tons of stuff, what's really going on? What are the deeper reasons we overshop?
This is where Dr. Benson's work gets really interesting. She dives into the psychology behind it, and one thing she finds is we often use shopping to meet emotional needs. Think about someone who overshops to boost their self-esteem. They're looking for validation in things. It's like trying to buy confidence, which of course we know doesn't really work.
Trying to buy confidence. I get that. We've all been there. You know, that urge to buy something to feel better about ourselves.
Right. It's human. And sometimes it can be a way of expressing anger or even seeking revenge. It's almost like using shopping as a weapon to lash out or to try to regain some control. Of course, it rarely works in the long run.
It's like the actual buying is secondary, right?
Yeah.
It's about the emotional release.
Exactly. The items themselves don't matter as much as what they represent in that moment. Dr. Benson also talks about how some people overshop to try and hold on to love, showering others with gifts, trying to, buy affection or prevent someone from leaving.
Trying to buy love, never easy. You can't really buy genuine connection, can you?
You got it. And then we've all heard of retail therapy. Dr. Benson explains how shopping can be like a temporary painkiller for emotional pain, or a quick fix for a bad mood, a way to escape how you're feeling, but it doesn't last.
Like self-medicating with stuff instead of dealing with the real problem.
You're spot on. Now, some people overspend to project an image, of wealth and power. They buy status symbols to impress others, or maybe to hide their own insecurities, building a facade that might not be real.
It's that, look at me, I've made it.
Yeah.
But maybe deep down they're struggling.
Exactly. And finally, Dr. Benson, she discusses how overshopping can be a way of filling a void. In a world that feels chaotic and uncertain, buying things can create an illusion of order and control.
Yeah, building your own little world where you feel stable and in charge. But just like all these other motives, it's a temporary fix. It doesn't solve the real issue.
Now, on top of all this psychology, Dr. Benson also talks about how our past experiences, especially from childhood, shape our relationship with money and, our spending habits. What we learn about money growing up, it stays with us.
So let's say someone who grew up with constant financial stress, or maybe saw shopping as a coping mechanism, are they more likely to overspend as adults?
That's precisely what Dr. Benson suggests. She even has these insightful journaling prompts to help people uncover these connections, see how their past might be influencing their current spending habits. It's all about self-awareness.
So we've got these emotional and psychological things going on. But what about the environment we live in? Does our culture, push us to overspend?
That's a huge factor, and Dr. Benson doesn't shy away from it. She reminds us we live in a society that's all about consuming. Everywhere you look, it's buy, buy, buy. We're told that happiness comes from buying a new car, the latest gadget, a bigger house, and it's hard to resist.
And the marketers, they're good at what they do, right? They know how to push our button.
Oh, they know exactly what they're doing. And Dr. Benson, she points out how manipulative those tactics can be. They play on our insecurities, our dreams, our desire to fit in. Think about this. In 2006, over 9 billion credit card offers were mailed out in the U.S. alone. That's 30 offers per person. It's relentless.
Wow, it's like we're set up to fail. So with all these cultural and psychological pressures, how do we break free? What can we do to regain control of our finances and our lives?
That's the million-dollar question. And we'll delve into Dr. Benson's strategies for that in our next segment. Well, Dr. Benson, she offers a bunch of practical tips, and one of the most important ones is tracking your spending. Like, really keeping a close eye on every purchase you make, even the small ones. That way you get a clear picture of where your money is actually going.
Sounds like it takes some effort, but I can see how it would be helpful. It's like holding up a mirror to your spending habits, right?
Exactly. It helps you see those unconscious patterns, those habits you might not even realize you have. Another thing she suggests is switching from credit cards to cash or checks, or even debit cards. The idea is when you physically hand over cash, it feels more real. It can help curb those impulse buys.
Right. It removes that buffer, makes each transaction feel more, I don't know, significant.
And then, of course, saving. Got to prioritize saving. Start early. Be consistent. It's about building a safety net, for emergencies or for future goals.
That financial cushion, it gives you peace of mind, makes you feel more secure about your finances.
Now, if you're dealing with credit card debt, Dr. Benson, she really stresses understanding the true cost of just making those minimum payments. That interest, it adds up fast. She suggests creating a debt repayment plan to tackle it strategically.
So don't let that debt just sit there and grow. Be proactive. But it's not all about the practical financial stuff, is it? Dr. Benson also talks about the emotional and psychological side of all this.
Oh, absolutely. She emphasizes finding activities that truly fulfill you emotionally instead of turning to shopping for comfort.
Okay, so what are some examples of these alternative activities? What can we do instead of shopping?
She's got a whole range of ideas, like nurturing your senses, doing things that bring you joy through, touch, smell, taste, sight, sound, a warm bath maybe, going to a concert, or just being out in nature. Simple things.
I like that. Finding joy in the little things without having to buy anything.
And speaking of nature, Dr. Benson, she's a big believer in the power of spending time outdoors. Gardening, hiking, just taking a walk in the park, it can be so grounding and calming.
Yeah, we forget sometimes how good it feels to just be in nature, like hitting the reset button.
Another important one is focusing on relationships. Spending quality time with loved ones, building those connections, that sense of belonging. It's something material possessions can't give you.
It's true. Nurturing those connections with people, it's so much more valuable than any shopping spree.
And then there's self-care. Making time for things that nourish your mind and body, exercise, meditation, doing something creative, or just relaxing.
Self-care is so important. It's easy to forget about ourselves, especially in our busy lives. But we need to prioritize it.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Benson, she also talks about using our own strengths to help us in this process of overcoming overspending.
Right.
We all have these unique talents and abilities, right? And we can use them to make positive changes.
It's like tapping into our superpowers to fight this overspending urge. So how do we figure out what our strengths are and how to use them?
Well, she gives examples of how qualities like, let's say, fairness, kindness, even humor can be used to break free from those bad spending habits. It's about using what we're good at to create a better life for ourselves.
That's pretty cool. Okay, but let's be honest. There's that constant pressure to consume. We're surrounded by buy messages everywhere. How do we resist that? How do we make smarter choices?
Dr. Benson, she has a multi-pronged approach. First, it's about awareness. Recognizing how marketers use our emotions and desires to get us to buy things. Once you see those tactics, they lose their power.
Right. It's like pulling back the curtain and seeing the wizard behind the smoke and mirrors.
Exactly. Another key thing is planning. Shopping with a list and a budget. And avoiding those tempting situations like just browsing around or impulse buying. Be intentional with your shopping.
Like setting a course and sticking to it. Resisting those siren calls of, those tempting displays and all those online ads.
And she talks about setting boundaries with salespeople, resisting those upselling tactics and staying focused on what you actually need, not what they're trying to sell you.
Being assertive.
Right.
Politely but firmly saying no. Staying true to your own needs.
And then there's social pressure. Dr. Benson offers strategies for saying no to friends or family who might, even unintentionally, encourage you to overspend, whether it's going shopping with them or accepting gifts that are out of your budget.
It's about setting those healthy boundaries, even if it's a little uncomfortable, putting your own financial well-being first, even if it means saying no to people you care about.
Exactly. And finally, she emphasizes mindful shopping. Pausing before you buy anything and really asking yourself, do I need this? Can I afford this? What's the real cost here? It's about slowing down the process and making conscious choices.
Taking that moment to breathe, right?
Right.
To step back and see if this purchase actually aligns with your values and your goals.
Now, Beyond those practical strategies, Dr. Benson talks about the power of mindfulness and meditation. They can help you become more self-aware and break free from those compulsive behaviors that lead to overspending. Things like focusing on your breath that can help manage those urges and make better choices.
It's like training your mind to be more present, more aware of your thoughts and feelings and impulses.
Exactly. But we're not meant to do this alone. Dr. Benson, she really emphasizes the importance of having a support system. You don't have to go through this by yourself. She suggests finding someone you trust, a friend or family member who can be your shopping support buddy, someone who understands what you're going through and can encourage you and keep you accountable.
Like having a cheerleader in your corner, someone to help you stay motivated and on track. And she also suggests, for people who need more support, seeking professional help. Seeing a therapist who specializes in overspending or compulsive shopping.
There's absolutely no shame in getting professional help, especially if it's affecting your life in a big way. It shows that you're committed to taking care of yourself and getting the help you need.
That's an important reminder. And Dr. Benson, her book, it's full of resources, websites, organizations, even reading lists. It's a great starting point for anyone who wants to learn more.
She really gives you a complete guide to understanding and overcoming overspending. And, building a healthier relationship with money and stuff.
Now, we've covered a lot here, and I know it can feel overwhelming trying to implement everything at once.
Right. That's why it's important to start small. Choose one or two things that resonate with you and focus on those. And as you get comfortable with those, you can gradually add more.
Slow and steady, right? It's a journey, not a race. And remember, progress over perfection.
So I'm curious, what are some of the insights that have stood out to you so far? What are you excited to try?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Stick around for our final segment where we'll wrap up our deep dive into Dr. Benson's work and share some key takeaways from this whole conversation.
Until then, happy reflecting. And remember, you're not alone in this.
Welcome back to the deep dive. As we wrap up our look at Dr. Benson's work, I want to circle back to something she said about handling setbacks. Because, we all slip up sometimes. Nobody's perfect. The important thing is how we recover.
Right. She talks about creating a lapse and relapse prevention plan to anticipate those tricky situations, come up with coping strategies, and figure out how to get back on track if you overspend.
Having a plan for those moments when your willpower just kind of crumbles, that's got to be helpful.
Exactly. It's like having a roadmap to help you navigate those inevitable detours on the road to healthier spending.
And speaking of journeys, Dr. Benson mentions this idea of compulsive returning, which sounds kind of strange when we're talking about overshopping. Can you explain that?
It does seem counterintuitive, but for some people, returning things actually becomes part of the problem, like an extension of the shopping addiction itself.
So it's not about actually regretting the purchase or wanting to save money. It's more about the act of going back to the store, being involved in that whole retail process.
Exactly. Keeping that cycle going, buying, returning, maybe buying again. It's a way to keep getting that shopping high, even if it doesn't really make sense.
That's interesting. It's like the focus is on the experience itself, not the stuff they're buying.
And Dr. Benson makes a strong argument for giving up returns altogether as part of the recovery process. It forces you to be more mindful, more thoughtful about what you buy in the first place.
It adds that extra level of accountability, right? If you know you can't return something, you're going to think twice before you buy it.
It makes you take ownership of your decisions.
So what if you end up with things you can't return? What are your options?
Well, Dr. Benson suggests reselling or recycling. It's a win-win, really. You declutter your space and maybe even help someone else out.
There's so many great platforms for reselling these days, and of course, secondhand shops, giving those unwanted items a new home.
And recycling, that's always a good choice if you can't resell something. Helps reduce waste, better for the environment.
Dr. Benson also encourages us to celebrate our successes. No matter how small they seem, they all count.
Absolutely. Recognizing your efforts, reinforcing those positive behaviors. Every time you resist that urge to overspend, you're building your self-control and getting closer to your goals.
She even talks about creating a system of rewards, little play dates to celebrate those wins, a relaxing bath, quality time with loved ones, working on a hobby, anything that brings you joy.
Finding healthy and enjoyable ways to solidify that commitment to breaking free from overspending.
All right, so we're nearing the end of our deep dive, and I think it would be super helpful for our listeners to have a clear summary of Dr. Benson's main points.
Great idea. Let's distill all this wisdom into 10 key takeaways. Something for everyone to, remember as they work towards a healthier relationship with shopping.
Love it. Here we go. 10 key insights from Dr. April Lane Benson's book, To Buy or Not to Buy. Number 1. Overshopping. It's a real problem. It affects millions of people, and it can cause financial strain, relationship problems, even emotional distress. It's not just a harmless habit. It can have serious consequences. Number 2, we live in a culture that's constantly telling us to buy stuff, equating happiness with material things. Be aware of those messages and make conscious decisions about your spending. Number 3, often overshopping is driven by deeper psychological needs. Trying to boost self-esteem, filling a void, managing anxiety, escaping difficult emotions. To break free, you got to address those underlying issues. Number 4, our childhood experiences, or how we grew up, how our families handled money, all that shapes our relationship with money today. Understanding how those early experiences affect you now is key to making lasting changes. Number 5, taking control of your finances. It takes action. Track your spending, use cash more than credit, make saving a priority, and come up with a plan to pay off debt. Those are the building blocks. Number 6, find other ways to fulfill yourself emotionally instead of relying on shopping. Spend time in nature, nurture those close relationships, get creative, prioritize self-care. Those are just some examples. Number 7, tap into your strengths, those unique talents and abilities you have. You can use those to overcome overspending and create a better life for yourself. Number 8, marketers. They're clever. They know how to use our desires against us. But you can resist those temptations by being aware of their tactics and practicing mindful shopping. Make informed choices that are right for you. Number 9, mindfulness and meditation. They can really help. They make you more aware of your thoughts, feelings, and impulses, making it easier to manage those urges to overspend. Number 10, you don't have to do this alone. Find a support system, whether it's a friend, a therapist, a support group. Having people who understand what you're going through makes a huge difference.
There you have it, a concise overview of Dr. Benson's brilliant insights into overspending. Take some time to think about these points and how they might apply to your own life.
And remember, this is a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your wins, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
That's right. And remember, you're not alone.
Thanks for joining us on this enlightening exploration of overshopping. We hope you found it helpful and empowering. Until next time, keep diving deep.